RightCapital's dedicated long-term care insurance analysis, found within the insurance module of each client plan, provides you with powerful tools to analyze a client's projected long-term care costs and demonstrate the potential benefits of purchasing a long-term care insurance policy. In this training video, we'll first review where long-term care information is entered during the data entry process. We'll then dive into the long-term care insurance analysis and take a look over both of the subtabs that you'll find there. And lastly, we'll take a look at the action items and how you can propose additional long-term care coverage and immediately see the impact. To start things off, let's take a quick look over the data entry for long-term care costs. You can enter long-term care costs into a client plan within the goals area of the client's profile. If you're still within the initial data entry process for a client, this would be the step labeled goals. Here, you should find a pre-populated data card for long-term care costs. If you don't see one, you can always re-add it to the plan by clicking Add Goal, hovering over Retirement, and then selecting Long-Term Care. RightCapital allows you to choose between a number of national averages for long-term care, including in-home care, assisted living, and nursing home care. You can also choose the customized amount option to enter your own annual dollar amount for one or both clients. You can also set when the long-term care expenses will begin for each client. The start date can be anywhere from 1 to 10 years from the end of each client's planning horizon. The cost and duration that are entered here within this card will feed into the long-term care insurance analysis. With that in mind, let's pivot into the insurance module and take a closer look at the LTC insurance analysis. Right away, you'll notice that there are two subtabs that you can utilize here, the first of which is the Impact tab. This page highlights the impact of a client's projected long-term care costs on their overall invested assets. The bar graph displays total invested assets each year for the final 10 years of the financial plan. The blue bar highlights assets with LTC costs excluded, and the purple bar highlights assets with LTC costs factored in. The purpose of this graph is to demonstrate the reality of how LTC costs can significantly erode a client's investments in the later years of their plan. You can use the legend to hide or highlight certain elements, or hover your mouse over the chart to view yearly dollar values. It's worth mentioning that any existing LTC insurance that's entered into the net worth section of the profile will be factored into the purple invested asset bars. I also want to note that this module is based on the proposed plan from the retirement analysis module, so the invested asset projections and estimated long-term care costs will include any changes that you've made within the action items. Speaking of action items, the long-term care insurance analysis has its own set of action items at the bottom of the page. Within the Impact tab, there's also a third green portion of the bar chart that illustrates the impact of any proposed LTC insurance coverage. Within the action items, you'll find a number of variables that enable you to dial in the details of a proposed LTC insurance policy for one or both clients. After specifying the details, click the refresh button in the lower right. RightCapital will then calculate the impact of the policy on the client's overall invested assets. The results will display in the chart in green, as well as to the right of the chart. This key metric highlights potential retained assets when an insurance policy is purchased to protect against the impact of expensive LTC costs at the end of the client's plan. One last tip before moving on. It can be easier to see the insurance impact if the blue bars are removed from the impact chart. You can hide the blue bars by deselecting them within the legend beneath the bar graph. This is a good practice for presenting the before and after effects of proposed LTC coverage to clients. To wrap things up, let's take a look at the other subtab within the LTC analysis, which is the Coverage tab. This area highlights additional information on a client's total projected LTC costs, feeding in from the data entry card that we looked at earlier in the Goals section of the profile. On this page, you'll find simple, intuitive visuals detailing the percentage of a client's projected LTC costs that will be covered by current and proposed insurance. Current coverage is displayed in dark blue, reflecting coverage from existing LTC insurance policies that have been entered into the net worth section of the profile. As a reminder, this module is looking at your proposed plan, meaning that any LTC insurance that's been entered within the retirement analysis action items will be reflected as current insurance within this area. Proposed additional coverage, displayed in light blue, reflects coverage from the policies proposed in the action items within the LTC insurance analysis. Any uninsured coverage is displayed in orange, and the coverage percentage shown in the center of each pie chart represents the total amount of LTC costs covered by both current and proposed coverage. That does it for our overview of the long-term care insurance analysis in RightCapital. If you have any additional questions related to long-term care costs or insurance, please don't hesitate to take a look at the educational resources within our Help Center or to reach out to our advisor support team for more details.